Well, you know how it is. You're driving down the road looking all cool and fancy in your BMW, and all of a sudden, your engine light comes on. And then you start to think, when did I check the tire pressure? And then you wonder, when was the oil checked? Well, before I start scaring you with a bunch of questions, I've got some really good news for you. We have got somebody here that can help us learn when are the best times to do these routine maintenance. And this is Brandon Miller with Universal Technical Institute. You know a lot about this and can answer some of these questions. And just to let you know, this isn't my car. I drive a minivan. That's just the truth. But beyond that, let's talk a little bit about what you do at Universal Technical.
I'm an instructor. I've been in the field for over 20 years. Now I'm trying to pass on my knowledge to the younger kids and try to give them a career in which they can do the same thing I've done, support their families. Well,
there are so many women now that are becoming more car savvy, but still a lot of women, including myself, kind of consider it, you know, it's my husband's job. But that doesn't matter if you're on the side of the road with a flat tire or you've burned out your car because of the oil. Everybody needs to know basic car maintenance.
Well, let's start off with a basic problem of a check engine light. That's kind of a common issue. People react in one of two ways. They either say, well, if I don't see it, it's not there, which the check engine light comes on because we're emitting more than the manufacturer intended it to. So we want to make sure we get that fixed because that hits us in the pocketbook. If we're not getting the mileage that we intended, we are putting gas in the car more than we need to. The other way people react is they will stop driving the car immediately and think this thing is unsafe. The reality of it is, if it's driving okay, it's safe, but you need to get it to a repair facility at that point.
Yeah, and so that's a very good point. First of all, going back a little bit to the check engine light, how quickly should you go directly into the shop and get that checked out?
Well, that depends. It comes on for a variety of reasons, anywhere from loose gas cap, which is very, very common, to a misfire in the engine. If you have a misfire, you can feel the car running badly. You want to take it in as early as possible at that point, because then you might be damaging the catalytic converter and other parts of your car. Mm-hmm. But generally, you can drive it until it's safe to get to a repair facility. All
right, and that warning light is there for a reason. But also, you need to do other simple things, like here. This is checking your oil to make sure that you've got enough adequate oil to ensure that your car is running smoothly. How complicated is that process?
It's very simple. Now, I brought a dipstick that doesn't belong to this car. This car checks oil in a different way. The driver can actually sit inside the driver's seat and push buttons in order to check my oil. It makes it nice and easy.
It's a fancy pants car, right? That's what it is, a fancy pants car. Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a dipstick you'll see on most cars. Now, a lot of cars are going to this design, so these may eventually go away. Mm-hmm. But usually you'll find this on the engine somewhere, maybe in this area or usually where you can see it, nice and big yellow hook. Mm-hmm. What you want to do is you want to pull that out. And when you pull that out, you want to make sure the car has been sitting for 5-10 minutes to make sure all that oil has drained down into the oil pan. When you do that, you want to pull the dipstick out, wipe off the dipstick, reinsert the dipstick back in the tube, pull it out. And you see a page on this hash marks on the dipstick. You want to be somewhere in those hash marks. If you're low or below the hash marks, you want to go ahead and add the oil at that point, or take it to a facility to go ahead and get that checked.
Well, there's some other questions we need to ask, and we're running short of time. Things such as tire pressure, also making sure that you know how to do a jump on your car. Those are critical things you need to be aware of how to do.
Absolutely. Tire pressure is a big one. Now they throw a light in the dash. It looks like a U with an exclamation point in there. If you see that light, you need to walk around the car immediately and make sure the tires are pumped up. You don't want to drive with low tire pressure.
So just do kind of like an eyeball check. Just go around and see if the tires are looking like they're in operating order.
That's your best defense in all these repairs.
And then let's look at the jumper cables too. Now that's something too that's basic that anybody can do but needs to know how to do.
Okay, the first thing you're going to notice in this car here, the battery's not in the engine compartment. That's becoming more and more common. The battery's actually in the trunk. On this car here, you have a big red positive terminal. That's where we're going to hook our red wire to for the jumper. We also we want to get a nice negative, which is right here. They give you a nice big post to grab onto to jump the car from there. So we can actually jump this car without actually seeing the battery. We can do it from up here in the engine compartment. If you have the battery here, it's the same thing. You want to hook to the red on the positive on the battery, and then you don't want to hook on the negative on the battery because there could be dangerous gases that build up around that battery. You want to use a good ground, a shiny piece of metal inside the engine compartment.
Because my father told me it's positive, positive, negative, ground. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. The ground you want to put last, and you want to hook the dead car up first, and hook the ground wire in last, and then hook the good car up, hook the ground in last.
Okay, he'll be so happy that I actually was listening.
Absolutely.
All right, last thing, windshield wiper fluid. I mean, we take that may not be such a priority, but really, it can be a huge issue, and it can be hazardous if you do not have that fluid to clean the windshield. It can make it very difficult to see.
You're absolutely right. Anymore, You can see here's the reservoir for that windshield washer fluid.
Okay.
We can't see the bottle, so we used to be able to see the bottle and see where that fluid level was at. Now we got to rely on, once again, a light in the dash. If that gets low enough, we'll have a little fountain light come on that'll say, okay, it's time to add some windshield wiper fluid. And the big thing there is a light comes on, you may not know what it is.
Right.
So you have to get your owner's manual out and match up the dash, the light in the dash, and find out exactly what light you're looking at.
Okay, well, this is a car that many of us would, we'd love to drive, and unfortunately few of us do. But so there are still cars that do have, you know, the windshield wiper fluid bucket that you can then see what it looks like.
Yes.
But the key thing is know your car.
Absolutely.
You know, pay attention to how your car functions and know how to operate it in case there is some sort of catastrophe on the side of the road.
You're absolutely right. That is key. Keep your owner's manual in the car to look up those lights, to look up those problems, and then and get it in good with a repair facility that you know that you can trust. And when you take it to him, you can believe what he's telling you, and I can trust what he's telling you.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I'd love to take a little spin in this car actually, but we've got more Good Morning Texas to come. Stick around. We'll be right back.